Wolf is here. Alderperson Steve Knott,
Present.
Jared Holter,
Here.
and Fred Bueller.
Here.
Thank you. And please also note, I see our police chief, Charles Ashbeck, and also our city administrator, Eric Rindfleisch. Approval of minutes from previous meeting.
So move.
Second.
Was Fred the motion?
Yep.
So a motion by Fred, seconded by,
That happened to me that one night.
it's just not you, that happens too, right? So motion by Fred Bueller, seconded by Mayor Smith. Discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor of said motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, motion carries unanimously. Item number three, public input, limited to 3 minutes per individual. If there is anyone who would like to give public input at this time, they may do so. Please limit your input to 3 minutes. You need to state your first and last name and your home address. First call for public input. Do we see anyone raising their hand or anyone who wants to give input remotely? No. I don't know if anyone has
Be Eric.
Eric? Or Nils? I'll do a repeat of first call for public input at this time. Second call for public input. And I'll hold off until I see Nils to make sure that there is no one. We're good? Okay. And third and final call for public input. I show that staff is noting that there is no one that it is appearing to want to give input at this time. So I will close public input and move on with the printed agenda. Consideration and possible action on the following items. Number 4, review and consideration of 2021 capital improvement projects. A, public hearing approximately 6:30 p.m. or immediately following public input regarding 2021 capital improvements projects. So Jared, we need to open it up for public hearing, correct? Fred?
Yes.
And that'll be for pros and cons?
Yep.
Okay,
Correct.
so is there anyone who would like to, I find that the public hearing is open. If there's anyone who would like to speak in support of the 2021 capital improvement projects at this time, they may do so. First call. Second call. Third and final call for pro. Anyone who would like to speak against any items on the 2021 capital improvement projects? First call. Second call. Third and final call. So I will go ahead and close the public hearing and move on to item 4B, consideration, possible recommendation, and possible action in regards to the 2021 capital improvements projects. Fred Jared?
So before you tonight, the capital improvements budget, obviously it was a long process to get to the point where we have a budget that meets our qualifications. With that, I do have one project that I would like to add to the list that does not have a budget impact. It's for the State Trunk Highway 16 DOT project. They're doing a signal improvement project. We have to move a water main as part of that project. That does have a cost of $37,000. We'll be using funding from the 2015 bonding issue for that project. So Fred, it would be best to add to the end of the list, I'm assuming, as a new number, right?
Number
Okay.
85.
So I would make a motion to add project 85 to the 2021 capital improvements budget for the Wisconsin DOT State Trunk Highway 16 intersection improvements, water main move, project 7575-00-0571. And that would be $37,000 under the water column for water project with a total cost of $37,000. And the funding to come under less amount already bonded $37,000.
I'll second.
Was that a second?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I'm just having problems tonight. Thank you. So motion by Jared and second by Stephen Knott. to add a new item 85 to the 2021 capital improvements project. And that motion reads to add project number 85 for Wisconsin DOT STH 16 intersection improvements, water main, project 7575-00-05/71 for $37,000 under the water column and funding under less amount already bonded for $37,000 total. Discussion, Mayor Kim.
And I just have a question why we didn't have this earlier.
That is because the state municipal project agreement was from a year and a half ago and it was not carried over onto the capital improvement budget. So it was an error on my part getting it on. But we are bound, they actually just opened the bids. That's the reason we caught it, is because we received the bid tabulation from the DOT and that's how it came about.
You realized it.
So it was planned. We do have a state municipal agreement for the project that was approved a year and a half ago by the council.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? And again, a confirmation, so it's not changing our bottom line, but we're looking to borrow because this is something that was already bonded earlier.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion on adding a new item 85 at this time? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor of said motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Jared. Jared, anything else?
I think Chief Ashbeck has a project in the capital improvements list. It is item 51.
Okay.
And I can have him describe that project a little more detail and what has happened, the current events that have happened with that project.
Okay, Chief Ashbeck, if you'd like to address Board of Public Works, thank you.
Good evening, thank you. Essentially, we secured alternate funding for that project. And so I'm happy to say that we can move that $84,165 to the less amount other sources column, zeroing out then the amount needed by borrowing or category 51.
Thank you so very much.
So I'll make a motion to remove the funding of $84,165 for the capital improvements budget, item 51, in squad cameras to less amount other sources.
Second.
Motion by Jared and seconded by Mayor Kim to move item 51, the amount $84,165 from the amount needed by borrowing to less amount other sources. Discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor of said motion say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries unanimously. Jared.
With that, I know we obviously spent a lot of time going through the list, making a lot of tough decisions. One of the areas that I think that we did make some tough decisions was on the sidewalk portion. We did cut some of the sidewalk projects and things like that. So I would like to make a motion that we would add project 1E under the sidewalk program, miscellaneous sidewalk infill, amount needed for borrowing in the amount of $48,165 back into the capital improvements list, and project number 27, the brick sidewalk repair/replacements downtown to amount needed for borrowing in the amount of $36,000. That would move that exact amount that we just deleted back in and would keep our borrowing and bonding at the same exact levels. That, if you will note that I did add the 165 to the 48,000, so the number did go up $165, but I'm just trying to keep the numbers the same. So that's a form of a motion.
I'll second.
So a motion by Jared, seconded by Not to add back in 1E sidewalk program miscellaneous sidewalk infill to amount needed for borrowing in the amount of $48,165. And project number 27, we will also add back in brick sidewalk repair/replacements downtown to amount needed for borrowing in the amount of $36,000. And note that the two combined items equals the exact amount of the previously removed item 51, total amount of, I'm just double checking, the $84,165. Discussion. If I may, when I had first heard about the 51 being removed, I did talk to our city administrator, and as someone who is not anxious to spend money, my firm belief was that if the city was willing to go ahead and bond for this total amount to begin with, we did make, I agree, Jared, we did make some very painful cuts, and these were the couple items, and there were a number of them, but this is something that I can certainly throw my support behind, and I'm very happy that we could find room to get a couple more projects done this year. So I'm very happy to see this. So any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of said motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, motion carries unanimously. So,
Do we have to open the public hearing up again, Fred?
that's what I thought, kind of like we do at budget. So, so note once again that the amount has not changed, but we're just going to go back into the public hearing again, since we did add something, take a few things out. So I will open up the public hearing again for anyone who would like to speak in support of the proposed 2021 capital improvement projects this evening. First call. Second call. Third and final call. Anyone wishing, and there is no one online, and so I will also do a call out for anyone wishing to oppose the 2021 capital improvements projects. First call, second call, third and final call. I will close the public hearing.
I move that we approve the 2021 capital improvement budget projects as presented.
I'll second.
So motion by Mayor Kim, seconded by Alder Knott, to approve the 2021 capital improvement projects as submitted this evening. Fred?
Actually, it's submitted with the following changes.
With the changes.
amended.
As amended, yes,
As
thank you.
amended, please,
Yes,
thank
as
you.
amended. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in, Fred?
Well, the only thing I wanted to say for with the issuance cost for a grand total to borrow 3 million, excuse me, 3,790,000,
Let's go back to that.
as noted in the public hearing notice.
Yes. So that's a 3,698,153?
3,790,000 with the issuance cost.
Okay. So the motion is then to approve the capital improvements. What we're looking to borrow is a $3.790 million, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So that is the motion this evening. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of said motion say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries unanimously. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, and thank you everyone for working so hard and long on that.
Yep. So item 5, review and consideration of agreement with La Crosse County for an off-street path along State Trunk Highway 16. Jared.
Thank you. In your packet tonight is a proposed maintenance agreement for a multi-use path along State Trunk Highway 16. Also in your packet tonight are 2 maps depicting the area that this trail will be installed. The La Crosse County has applied for and received approval for grant funding to construct this off-street path along State Trunk Highway 16. La Crosse County will be funding the design and any construction costs not covered by the grant. The grant's an 80-20 grant that they received. This trail, what is requested in the agreement tonight is that the city of Onalaska would take over maintenance authority of this trail. Currently, we do maintain the trail that was put in as part of the State Trunk Highway 16 project about 3 years ago from the landfill to our corporate limit line. So this would be an extension of that. The trail to the south of this is actually maintained by the city of La Crosse. Once this trail is put in, we would have a short section that we would have to construct as part of our capital improvements budget between the end of the city of La Crosse portion, which is by Dick's Sporting Goods at Valley View Mall, and South Kinney. So there's about 1,000-foot section there that we would have to install. This is a great thing for the community. They also did receive a grant to go over the La Crosse River. It's a separate piece of this grant that they received 2 different grants. So you'll be able to bicycle all the way as part of this on and off street path from Southside La Crosse all the way to West Salem. So it is a great connection. It's a great commuting connection. And this is if you've ever tried to walk out there before, this is a tough area with all the on-off ramps, all the signalized intersections. This will be a benefit for our residents, I feel, getting between our commercial areas that are on both sides of the road. So I'm really supportive of this. I think it's a good thing in the end. You know, we will have some maintenance costs. We'll have to plow it like we do the State Trunk Highway 35 path or the Sand Lake Road path. But I think in the end, it'll be a great thing for our citizens. So other thing, the attorney has reviewed the agreement and did not have any changes to it. So just looking for approval.
Move to approve the agreement with La Crosse County for the off-street path along State Highway 16.
Second.
Motion by Mayor Kim, second by Jared to approve the agreement as proposed in our packet this evening. Discussion. Alder Knott?
Again, I personally have no problem with it. I just, on a process, I guess, concern, with trails, don't we normally receive input from parks first or no?
I guess the maintenance of the trail, the snow plowing maintenance would be under the Parks Department. I did not bring it forward to Dan to take forward. We could do that before we approve it if we, just to make sure.
I would feel more comfortable with it. I mean, I don't foresee any issues, but I just,
Is there timeliness though? Because Park and Rec already met.
And they're not going to meet in December.
I don't think the county, this is not something where I think an extra 30 days would necessarily.
It will be more than that. It won't be until February council that it would get approved.
Yeah, because they aren't going to have a Parks Board meeting in December.
No.
I still don't think.
Jared, if I can just comment, I'm here, and Alder Knott, I understand your comments. I have spoken with our staff with this being on the agenda. As we understand, yes, there'll be more snow removal responsibilities, but we are comfortable and see the value that this will provide to the community. So I support this project moving forward.
thanks, Dan.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Wick. Jared, I do have a couple questions. So let's see, this is, how much of an addition is this as far as length?
This will be, I would say this is about 1.5 miles of trail.
Okay, add it.
I don't have the exact distance.
And I'm just looking for an about. And when you mentioned the about 1,000-foot section that we'll eventually have to put in, do we have a timeline when we're going to be looking at doing that? Because I'm assuming that'll come under capital improvements in the future.
Yeah, it would have to probably be, and I get more of this from the county, but they are going to solicit engineering firms to design it. And then this has to be a state-let project. They can't locally let it, so that adds more time to it. So to be honest with you, if I thought this was going to get built in 2023, I'd say it's probably not going to get built until maybe fall of 2023 or 2024.
Okay,
So
Okay.
it's definitely not going to get built in 2022. So
okay. And last question I have, when they talk about the maintenance, what all maintenance are we
well,
talking about?
maintenance would be obviously snow plowing. You could choose not to plow it, but I think you can plow it with a pickup truck. It's wide enough that you can use a pickup truck, so it would be accessible that way. Then over time, you are going to have some crack filling and repairs to it. We've got a capital improvement budget item in our capital improvement budget that we've deleted 2 years in a row for maintenance of off-street paths. Those paths are probably 20 years old. They don't get the loading like a street does, but over time they just do need maintenance. So at some point you will have to maintain it. Now, one thing to note is if the road ever gets rebuilt, being that's in the DOT right away, they would probably rebuild the path at that time. So, it's just like we maintain the highway out here as a state highway, but when they go to rebuild it, they pay for it. So if they rebuild the whole right of way and replace the curb and gutter and everything, I would expect they'd replace the path at the same time. So.
Okay, thank you. Mayor Kim?
I just want to say, on a kind of what I think is an interesting side note, this is the neighborhood that I grew up in. And my 4-H club proposed a trail similar to this back in the 80s. And when the mall went in.
Good things come to those who wait.
Yes.
Waiting.
When the mall went in, us country kids at the time, Highway 16 was a 2-lane highway with a gravel shoulder. And so we were riding our bikes along the gravel shoulder of Highway 16 to go to McDonald's in the mall. And so our 4-H club started a project to try to gain support for putting an off-road path next to this. And it was the most ridiculous thing that anyone had ever heard. So it only took 40 years.
So
You were 40 years ahead of your time.
I know,
What
I
a
was a
great strategic
visionary.
thinker.
You guys should listen to me when I have my crazy ideas.
That's why you've been sticking around. You want to see this to
Right.
fruition, didn't you? Come to fruition, Jared.
So just, the city has looked so highly upon this project in the past. We actually applied for the same grant about 15 years ago, but we never were able to get it through.
Oh.
So the county started applying for it, and they actually were able to get it through. So this is a great deal for the city because we don't have to pay the 20% match. So I think it's a great win for our residents, but we've been trying to get this path in. I know in planning department for over 20 years has been wanting to get this path in. So I didn't know it was 40, but it's
Yeah.
been over 20.
Well, I mean, I don't think the 4-H club counts.
See, we got the quiet zone. That took about the same amount of time. So yeah, just patience. patience.
Progress.
Yeah, progress. Let's see, we have not voted yet, correct? Because that was discussion. So any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of said motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Thank you. Motion carries unanimously. Item number 6, review and consideration of purchasing non-budgeted salt brine sprayer utilizing funds from salt brine production unit. Jared.
In your packet tonight, I do have a memo, and I'm just going to outline a few highlights from that memo. With the removal of the permanent brine unit for the full-size dump truck from the 21 capital improvements budget, staff has been researching other options for salt brining. The purchase of a 925-gallon salt brine sprayer unit to be installed on our 2-ton flatbed truck was the preferred choice. This unit is not budgeted, but funds that have been saved from the purchase of the salt brine production unit, so that's our salt brine maker, that we had in the capital improvements budget, can be used to purchase this brine sprayer. The 2 quotes are attached. We do have a quote from Country Spray and Equipment for $8,800 to purchase this unit. This would give us a 3rd unit to be able to anti-ice with, so we'd be able to cover more streets. And in particular, we're gonna try and hit more residential streets with the anti-icing as time goes on. So staff is recommending approval of purchase of this item.
I'll make a motion that we approve the purchase of the salt brine sprayer.
I'll second it.
Motion by Alder Knott, second by Fred Bueller to approve in the amount of $8,800 to Country Sprayer and Equipment Company LLC for the purchasing of non-budgeted salt brine sprayer utilizing but funds from salt brine production unit as per the packet. Discussion. Alder Knott?
Just a quick clarification for my own edification here. So you said that this would be the 3rd capability you have?
Correct.
Because I
Currently,
thought in what we're going to be looking at item 10, you already have 3.
So no, we have 2. So we have a 500-gallon unit, which was our first unit we received, which is in the back of the 1-ton truck. And then we've got a 1,300-gallon unit in a dump truck. So we took the salt spreading unit, granular unit right off it. So it permanently has during winter season, has the 1,300-gallon tank on it. And that's the one you saw when we actually anti-ice before Thanksgiving there. That was the one that was out.
Okay.
This would be the 3rd unit.
Okay.
So the 500-gallon unit is what we'll do with that now is we'll start running parking lots and trails and things with that. And we'll use this to do mainline streets with the gallons of salt brine we'll be putting down.
Any other discussion at this time? Hearing none, all those in favor of said motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, motion carries unanimously. Item number 7, review and consideration of well number 9 post-chlorination installation. And I believe we have a handout.
Yeah.
Jared?
So in your packet tonight, there is a memo from myself outlining the well number 9 post-chlorination. Also in the packet tonight is the plan approval and the plans that Strand Associates prepared for us. We have worked through this. We did clean the filter over the course of this summer. So we actually put this project off for a little while, but we're to the point where we've got the filter clean and we would like to have this installed. Actually at this time we've in the last few days here, we've actually shut down well number 9 because we're trying to ensure we're getting enough chlorine out into the system without this. And we're thinking we're going to wait now until we have this put in. But in your packet tonight, I have listed, there's 4 bullet points there for costs with this project. The first one is Strand Associates for the design. That's already been approved and we've already expended those funds. So you've got the next 3 that would be needed to actually install this. We have S&S Mechanical for the mechanical and piping at $21,782. We did receive a second quote since the packet went out, and I did hand that out tonight, and that was from Hengel Brothers Incorporated of $24,779. Also, we will need new SCADA controls, some programming done to control this chlorine injection and be able to put it onto our graphics system that we have. So that's Altronics. That's $12,734. They are the only supplier of our SCADA system, so we really can't get another quote on that. Hoskins Electric for $2,800 would round it out to do the electrical work. And we've been working with Hoskins, and it was a low enough amount that we felt that they had a quote that we could roll into the package. With that, that would be a total expenditure for those 3 of $37,316. We did have $30,000 in the 2019 operating budget for this item. We didn't know, because it hadn't been designed yet, we didn't have an exact cost, so we just had a budget number that was round, if you would per se. It is close to that, but we do have monies that we saved from the permanent addition of the phosphate at the wells. So we do have monies in the 2 funding sources that will complete this project. So I really feel we need to move forward with this. We're trying to push so much chlorine through the filter to ensure that our residual chlorine levels in the water system are kept up, that we're just having problems. So this will help us operationally.
So we're looking at approving just the 3 final items for a total amount of $37,316.
That is what staff is requesting, correct?
Okay, thank you.
I move we approve that.
I'll second.
Motion by Mayor Kim, seconded by Alder Knott to approve a total amount of $37,316. And specifics are on the memo dated November 19th, 2020 for names and amounts for the well number 9 chlorination system. Discussion. Hearing none. All those in favor of said motion say aye.
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 Those opposed, motion carries unanimously. Item number 8, review and consideration of City of Onalaska snow and ice control policy. Jared,
Oh, this is always a fun one to go
Yes.
over.
Like we do it every year. don't
I love it. I'm
Yeah,
sorry. I
so-
think it's cool.
So I'll go through a few changes that we've added this year, and we have updated a few things. One of the things, and if you depending how close you looked in your packet with your maps, we have updated the maps than the ones in your packet. The maps that you had in your packet, some of them were about 8 years old, and not a lot changes in the maps, but we added a few new streets and we do change up a few routes and things. So we have updated a few maps. So when you see it loaded on our city website, because that's what we'll do with this policy every year, we load on the city website with the maps and things, so the public, our residents, can refer to that as a reference tool. And also we refer residents to it as a reference tool, because there's a lot of good information in here about how we plow streets, why we plow streets, why we use anti-icing and things. So obviously this is a refresher for most of you. Some of you, it might be some new stuff. This is basically a framework to follow, but every event is different. So every time it snows or ice, there's always similar events, but there's always something different about every event. This is a great document, been updated over the years. My predecessors, Paul Johnson and Ron Lund, years ago, Paul started this policy, and it's been a great one ever since he got it going. Ultimately, all the credit for implementation of this policy goes to our frontline staff. You know, it's the people that sit in that truck or that loader or that pickup truck or whatever for 12 or 14 hours in a day. So it doesn't matter how good a policy we have. If we don't have good people to implement it, we're not gonna get good results. So, like I said, all snow and ice operation considered emergency in nature. So regardless of the time of night or whatever, we will respond. Obviously, when you're looking at snow events, you know, you got such things as moisture content, temperature, pavement temperature, winds, time of day, all those things affect the operation. So as with any plan, we got to have flexibility in how we administer the plan. So that's one of the key things too, is this gives us a framework, but it doesn't necessarily give you an equation for how you're going to do it. If you go to number 3, classes of streets, that's kind of a main one because that really dictates how we're going to attack things. We've got our main streets and then residential streets. So we've got about 20 miles of main roads out of the 95 miles. So, 20% or so of our streets are our main streets, and we concentrate on those to get people in and out. We typically, all the residents are within a few blocks of a main street, so they might have to fight it to get out for a couple blocks, but they'll get to something that they can get out to. One of the big things under number 4 for determination of need for maintenance, generally icing or loss of traction occurs. The primary icing routes will receive maintenance. That's that 20 miles of primary routes. Also, normally stated in the policy, we normally need 2 inches of snow or widespread icing before we maintain service on all residential streets. So that's one of the calls I get quite frequently, hey, there's snow on the road. How come nobody came past my house? Well, if we know it, depending, we may plow when there's only an inch of snow, but depending on what time of year it is, weather events, is it going to snow again? Is it not going to snow again? Is it going to warm up and it's going to melt? We may not plow. So that all changes. 5 is cul-de-sacs. Obviously, we came back about 12, 13 years ago and started renting loaders to do cul-de-sacs. The loaders are a key component for cul-de-sacs, and things have gotten, our service levels have gotten better in the cul-de-sacs since then. Under parking lots and miscellaneous sidewalks, I've been working with Dan Wick, our Park and Recreation Director, and this is one that's been updated in the policy. The Public Works Department has taken on some more of the parking lots, such as the Omni Center, Library, Great Earl Landing. We've got the wheel loaders. We got a bigger piece of equipment. We feel we can do them more judiciously and get it done a little faster. So that's one thing that was added. We also added under 7 anti-icing. We also updated that we might be doing residential streets with our capabilities now and being able to make our own brine. We thought that was a good add to that there. And then under 9, you can see the maintenance service. We've got 24-hour service. If we have to come out because of some icing event, we will, but we try to basically do our main maintenance service from 4 a.m. to 8 p.m. and then local streets from 6 a.m. to 3 p.m. So we try to run those main routes if we have to, odd hours, but we try to do as much during the day as we can. But that doesn't mean that we won't be in a neighborhood plowing a street at 8 o'clock at night, but just depends on the storm again and things like that. That's our framework. One thing that we did add was number 10, snow removal, because we didn't have anything listed on snow removal. And one of the things we have in that second paragraph is the downtown area, which is a 2-block radius around the intersection of State Trunk Highway 35 and Main Street, will be a point of emphasis due to lack of snow storage and parking for businesses. So we are going to try, that's something we've been trying the last couple of years, so we have added it to the policy. But we have also added, snow removal will be utilizing cul-de-sacs that lack snow storage. We do that once in a while also. But then that last sentence, overall citywide snow removal on select locations will only be utilized once the accumulation of snow that are present on boulevards and intersections will hinder traffic operations. So we do have a list. We have cleared snow. We haven't done it for a couple of years, but we do have a list that we go around the city and we perform night operations from 11 p.m. at night till 8 o'clock the next morning where we would clear snow. So that's kind of the 10,000 foot version of going through the policy. And I guess with that, you had any questions or anything, but we will put on our city website and very shortly to get it out to the public.
Jared, for one, I thank you for this. As someone who's been here a long time, and a lot of us have been here a long time, but I think it's a good refresher, and I think it's a great document to introduce to newer people on staff and council. And I think it's a great policy to have, and I think it's great to put it online so people are aware of it. So if they have concerns, they can look it up, and so everyone feels like they're being treated fairly. It's not like just because someone's sits on a committee, they're going to get their street plowed first. It's like there's a process, and I know that your department follows it. So I appreciate having a document. So if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So thank you for this. So are you looking? So you are looking at approval for this since
You can make a motion to place it on file if you
place it
like.
on file.
Yeah, that's fine.
You made that motion?
I will make that motion to place the snow and ice policy as presented on file.
I will second that motion.
So motion by Jared, second by Mayor Kim to place on file the snow and ice control policy this evening as presented. Under discussion, Alder Knott?
Yes, just one. First off, very detailed. It was really a good read. On the bottom of page 49 under mailbox damage, I just have a question for clarification, I guess. Real simply, it reads, if city equipment makes contact with a mailbox, it will be replaced or repaired with a standard galvanized steel mailbox and a 4x4 treated wood post. Mailbox is damaged by snow, ice making contact with the mailbox will repaired at the city's discretion. So my question is specifically to the making contact piece. If the property owner is in compliance with the mailbox siting and we actually hit their mailbox, why would we limit ourselves to only replacing it with a wooden post and the standard, as opposed to, if we break it, and they have a really nice mailbox, we should, I'm not talking about the snow being thrown on it. I'm saying we actually hit that mailbox and
So-
yeah.
So we do have a street privilege permit for a mailbox, because we started getting them about 30 years ago, where we'd have the brick mailboxes and everything. Where, that's more of it's more of a pillar than a mailbox, but we actually put those as a privilege to have in the right of way. So part of it is, we make the standardized mailbox and set them out. And if we do hit one, and we do hit mailboxes, I'm not going to say we don't, there's during the course of a year, we do hit mailboxes. A lot of the mailboxes, and the reason that word is worded that way because a lot of times we get heavy, wet snow and the mailbox has been out, the post has been out there for 20 years and we knocked 20 of them over in one snow event where we didn't actually hit any of them. I guess we've had a standard of replacing it with a standard item versus trying to find a custom item, and we don't know where, do you say up to a certain dollar amount, or we don't want to get into something where we got to reimburse people necessarily, or, bring everyone forward to the council for a action as a claim against the city. So that's the reason we've got it in there that way. It's a standard mailbox. If someone has something more, then they can replace it. We'll put the post out if they want to put a different mailbox on top of it, but that's what we've done in the past.
Yeah, I'm uncomfortable with, again, I'm not talking about the snow or ice being thrown on it. That's just the nature of the business. I'm talking actually hitting
Yep.
a properly sited mailbox, that somebody does something nice to enhance the neighborhood or the value of their own property, what have you, that we would basically make them take the hit for us hitting their mailbox. And I don't know, yeah.
And it's tough with the custom things you see, trying to even, how do you replace it and everything like that. Fred's been here many years too. he can add a little
The
bit
comment that I
too.
want to make, Jared, I believe there's quite a few mailboxes in the city that are recorded down at the county, because the fact it's above and beyond. If the city, somebody wants to spend $5,000 for a mailbox, it's actually recorded down there and so the city does not take responsibility for someone that spends that kind of money in a mailbox.
I agree with you. Want to try and be fair in trying to be fair to people. If the city staff does do something,
Yeah.
the same token, you got to have a consistent standard too, in the fact that it's a privilege. I get it. You got to, to have anything the right way is a privilege, but it's, we could make a ordinance that says you can only have a standard mailbox in the right of way, and that would be it, if we so choose, because we can make that determination. No, we never have. But I have not, in my years of taking phone calls and stuff, had very many people that have blown back with anything. Typically you've got either a wooden mailbox with a wooden or metal mailbox, as you see here. We do get, at times, we get the plastic mailbox that goes over top of the post, and we have replaced that in the past. But we got to have something that we kind of go by. If it's something more than that, where they have a architectural metal or stenciling or their name specifically engraved into it, our policy has been, as you state here, that
Yeah.
we're only going to replace that.
I mean, as for the record, I just have a standard mailbox, but I got some neighbors that have got like nice brick around theirs and things like that. And I can't imagine them being too happy with us saying, here's your 4x4 piece of wood and a box to replace something that they actually invested that if we hit it. And maybe the answer is we do consider a limit, an upper limit, we'll give you this, we'll actually, install this 4x4 treated wood post and a galvanized steel box. Or, if it is something that's, nicer than that, the city will pay up to a certain fee. I don't know, but I just, out of the interest of fairness, if we're actually making contact with something that I just
Well,
don't, yeah.
Yep. We also get in a bind too, because the first call is always to the city. You hit my mailbox. Well, in a lot of those areas, if you notice, there's snow plowing services that do a lot of driveways out in where the fancy mailboxes are.
Yeah.
And because we've got, luckily now, a lot of our running equipment now has a tracking device on it. So we know what time it was and where it was at. So we know when it went through, more so we can keep track of efficiencies and people calling and say, hey, or whatever. But part of it too is you get somebody that hits the mailbox, they're going to blame the cities at first. And we tell all of our staff, if you hit something, we want to be fair and equal to all citizens. And if we do it, we're going to take blame for it. And it's part of what it happened. But sometimes we get blamed when we aren't too. So that's part of it also.
Well, it's very late in the year. I mean, we're basically in snow season right now. So,
Correct. Yeah.
so I'm wondering if for next year, we can consider looking at this and if there's a way to more fairly address it. Yeah, I mean, I don't even know what the solution would be at this point, but, would you be opposed to relooking at for next year? Or
Oh, I'm fine. I'm perfectly happy reevaluating it and trying to
Yeah.
look at what we could do. I know it would be tough to have it where you set up to like a certain dollar amount, because then it's got to get approved and then the finance department has to cut a check, and it's just kind of a slippery slope right there trying to make
Yeah.
that determination, and then, if you make it X amount and the next resident's mailbox is X amount plus 1/2 of X, now they're still mad because they didn't get their full mailbox replaced. And
Yeah, I don't know what the right solution is. I have to think about it more, but my gut is telling me this isn't the right solution. Yeah. Specific to us striking it. I mean, and you said, they always blame the city, but if a dump truck pushing an actual snowplow hits your mailbox, you're going to know that that's what hit your mailbox because it's going to be pulverized. So, yeah. Okay, other than that, I mean, I have no issue with it for this year, but I'd like to look at it for next year.
do that.
So any other discussion on the motion to accept and place on file the City of Onalaska Snow and Ice Control Policy as presented this evening? Hearing none, all those in favor of said motion say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries unanimously. Item number 9, review and consideration of change order number 2 for Crestwood Lane Utilities and Street Improvement Project. Jared.
So this is the Crestwood Lane project that was put in last summer, actually, and paved this fall. With that, the project did have 2 change orders. So the first change order that was approved earlier in the project was for $58,773.14. This project change order number 2 is being requested in the amount of $34,290.50. We typically do not have change orders that are these large for these projects. When we look at this project, though, we made some decisions to enhance the viability of the street early on. So once we started going out there and doing the soil excavation and everything, we realized that the soils out in this street were terrible. So in the original change order, we actually added $40,000 of extra rock and some grading and restoration because we removed a bunch of culverts, driveway culverts. So instead of having the driveway culverts, once we were done, we actually removed those and then add those to the project. So change order number 2 that's in front of you today is actually for item A is additional asphalt. We actually thickened the asphalt from 3.5 to 4 inches. And all of these first couple costs are all at the bid cost. So those are the costs bid. We just increase the quantity. Number 2 is 6-inch concrete driveway. We had $9,166 of increased cost for concrete driveway. Part of that was taking out the culverts, and the quantity that was in the plan set was too low for what was needed to get things to blend in. Item C was 2-inch asphalt for driveway. So we actually added more tonnage for the driveways once again due to the culverts and tying in the driveways to the street to get them to blend well. That was $5,901. Item D was a 2-inch water service for a flushing station we put at the end of Crestwood Estates. That was $1,938. That was in preparation for the flushing station that was in the capital improvements budget that was actually deleted. But by putting it in as part of the project, we were able to not have to pay for the asphalt and gravel removal. We did have a fire hydrant we had to raise for $675, and then we put in a temporary gravel cul-de-sac so the plow could turn around last winter for $1,650. So that's how you get to the $34,290.50. We do have funds for change order number 2 within the 2019 bonding for the general and water portions. They'll be split up between what each one is.
Thank you, Jared.
Make a motion that we approve change order number 2.
I'll second that.
Motion by Alder Knott, seconded by Mayor Kim to approve change order number 2 in the amount of $34,290.50. Discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor of said motion say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries unanimously. Number 10, pay estimates, Matthew Construction, Gerke Excavating, Fowler and Hammer, Litigar Roofing, Waukesha Construction, Strand Associates, Short Elliott Hendrickson, MSA Professional Services, Braun Intertech, Steiger Construction, and any other contractor developer. I show in our packet monthly estimates for dated December 1st, 2020. I show 14 of them. Assuming this is the most current.
It is the most current in your packet, correct?
Okay, I will entertain a motion.
I'll move to approve the December 1st, 14 contractors listed for the pay estimates.
I'll second.
Was that Stephen? Thank you. Motion by Mayor Kim, seconded by Alder Knott to approve the monthly pay estimates, 14 of them dated December 1st, 2020, as per our packet. Discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor of said motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, motion carries unanimously. And item number 11, adjournment.
Make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Motion by Jared, seconded by Alder Knott to adjourn at 7:28. All those in favor of said motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, motion carries unanimously. And we are adjourned at 8:28 PM. Thank you, everyone, for coming out this evening.
Thank you. It was fun to be in person.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes.
So.
Let me know when we're turned off.